Hello, everyone. Wow, we had episode 5. That was, as people are saying, we thought things would calm down a little bit. It was just as intense as all previous, the other 4 episodes. It was really fantastic. We got to see the soldiers' table, and then we dipped back into the other tables to see how they actually ended up diverging as well, which I think we really needed. So I'm glad it wasn't only the soldiers' table. It was interesting because we were kind of set up to think this was all about the soldiers, and it actually wasn't. We continued the narrative of how these groups, separate and go their separate ways on their different missions. And I felt that was very, very, very well defined in this episode. This is one of my favorite episodes. A lot to cover. First off, we learned after a lot of investigation and arcana checks and stuff like that, we found out that Octus is connected to the elf song stone, but is not. It's not a phylactery. It's not like a lich situation. Do kind of get this kind of Horcrux vibe of if the elf song ever gets destroyed, that also means Octus will also pass away at that point. That's just the impression I've gotten. There are a lot of hilarious moments from Alex Ward talking about Octus being a virgin, that he died a virgin. And there's some nice comedic levity moments from the entire cast that really were much needed in such dark episodes that we typically get right now. And I think we'll see a lot more levity as time goes on. What else? Oh yeah, the fact that Octus also refused to finish his thesis, talking to Maggie, was pretty hilarious as well. I like the idea of hey, I'm not finishing my thesis. I died. I don't have to turn in any more papers to you as my professor. And there was a nice interaction between them, Marisha's character and Alex Ward's character. I thought that was really fun, especially with them separating. So we've got Octus heading to the east towards the pillars that he saw in his vision. There's the sense of drums, almost like Jumanji, kind of leading them on that some of them are hearing. The schemers have decided to work against the houses, so they're going to be planting information, trying to sow dissent amongst the different political factions within the city, the houses. I think that's really fun. It's going to be really interesting to see how they go about that. Bolaire actually took the signet ring from Octus to plant in a location to prove that his entire family is up to no good and to cause more political strife within the city. That was really fun. The druid, Thaisha, really feels like they need to protect Octus as well. So it's interesting to see a druid protecting someone who is effectively undead. Very funny moments where they went to a tavern that was... They could either take the King's Road or they could go through the forest, and they ran into someone who was in a gibbet, the doorman at the tavern, who they had a previous Thimble had known previously, who was effectively the doorman and would knock and let them know that someone was there at the inn to actually get services. The fact that someone gets caught for trying to steal specifically from the Wikander's family. And then is put in some type of bizarre servitude, asking for bread in a gibbet, which is, for those that don't know, and if you didn't catch it in the episode, gibbets are those big kind of cage things that hang from chains that you see in medieval movies and stuff, and there's often a skeleton in them, because you don't usually survive. They just put you up there until you starve to death or from exposure to the weather. So it's kind of a warning cage, I guess, for those that might steal and a bunch of other criminal offenses. So, Wikander almost exposes his name multiple times. He calls himself Nicander, which I could not stop laughing at how Sam Riegel is still leaning in so wonderfully into the overly privileged nature of his character and his lack of any type of savvy in any way. I also enjoyed the prompt from Brennan, as you were riding away from the city and you look back at your home, do you look back at your home in the distance? He's like, well, I'm riding side saddle, so that's pretty easy for me. So Sam continues to be kind of the comedic relief in a lot of ways, that and also Marisha's character. So that was nice. Yeah, the Nick Halavar of everything was too hilarious. They do tell, he does give them information about what road they are taking when it comes to very specifically Octus's family and where they're searching, and also the fact that the crows are with them, which was interesting. So they do know that the enemy is on the King's Road. They ultimately decide to take the road that leads into the forest. The interactions also of them trying to lie were pretty funny, trying to claim that they were going truffle hunting and all this other stuff. We got kind of a sense of like the more criminal elements in this kind of these scenarios that were pretty funny. So they did let the guy loose who was, in the gibbet. He immediately stole one of their horses, or they gave him a horse, but he took off pretty quickly. So the Tachonis did go down. The Tachonis family did go down the King's Road. The crows are now very much established, working with the Tachonis family as well. Pretty clutch move with Bardic Inspiration involving Thimble, getting a 26 on survival to try to figure out where to go. The Condescent Creed, we learned, suck at survival rolls, which was pretty on brand. I thought that was pretty hilarious. We got a nice nat 20 on Deception. They did figure out that the brother was in fact there. It was pretty funny when... Yeah, so that nat 20 was against a fellow fairy that is a Nixie or a brook fairy that Thimble ran into that was near in a creek, which also got a great roll to even see that fairy in particular. But the fairy was very concerned about not letting people know where this very secret glade is from the tall folk. So we got a little bit... It was a nice little interaction to give us a little bit more sense of how the fairies have been surviving after the Feywild has been effectively closed down from them. The fairy realm has been shut. So it was nice to see Thimble interacting with one of her own, and the suspicions that the fairy folk have, and the fact that they've created these glades to protect themselves from the tall folk was also interesting. So that was the Hathorn Glade, I believe. We learned that there are undead and dead things that wander the forest at night. We did run into this gnome, and I think the gnome's name was Albin. And this is the part that kind of broke me and made me super sad. It was just really emotional. And it was very well timed because this is and I'm going to go into detail about the gnome situation that we run into at the end of this show. And it's important because this is an important thing when you're dungeon mastering a D&D game, which I had to learn some hard lessons on. And sometimes you forget these lessons. So, I just got, if there are any questions in chat, so that I don't lose them, you can always do like a super chat or something like that, or I'll try to scroll back after I'm done with this monologue. So, I believe this older gnome's name, whose eyebrows are described as like two hats, they're so long, Albin, has this kind of observation post where he watches people on the road, but also is like watching the clouds and doing other types of observation. He had 3 daughters. I believe their names were Cerebel, Halandil, and Demriel. And that he is a widower. His wife has passed. This came about when Tyranny actually asked, do you ever use your telescope to like watch people kiss and stuff like that? He's like, oh no, I'm married. And that broke everyone's heart, including mine, because there are a lot of people like that. You lose your spouse and you still feel, I'm married, that was the love of my life. And the fact that he won't even watch other people kiss is adorable, and he's not that type of character. That kind of creepy old man in the mountains watching people kiss was adorable. And we learned he has 3 daughters that have been gone for about 15 years, and they had all these toys and these toy soldiers, and they decided to also go out into the world and try to make the world a better place. And they talk about the Falcon's Cry. And so his daughters are out there, and he's worried, this gnome that has taken them into his home, and they're having these discussions, that, if he goes out into the world trying to find his daughters, they might drop by the house and he may not be there. And he has a gnomish banner and all these fireworks outside in case they do come home that says "Welcome Home" in gnomish. And this is after talking to Travis Willingham's character, Teor, and it's a lovely exchange, and it's heartbreaking. And they do note that the Kingsmen are heading south on the road, and Brennan mentions in the cooldown how that could be effectively an arrow that is going past this party and heading towards another table, and then we will see more interactions like this. Another notable thing in this is that he did mention in the cooldown they may run into those three daughters, but not that table. So the soldiers' table may not run into the daughters, but another table might. And also, Brennan established people may be moving between the tables. Not everyone who is currently at the soldiers' table always will be. They will be interacting and possibly swapping seats between those tables throughout the adventure, which is great. Like, nothing's set in stone, and I think that's really fun. I did want to talk about, for those that are interested in D&D and Dungeon Mastering, this is a mistake I made, and this is why this gnomish scenario was really important, because so many horrible things had happened so far in the last 4 episodes, right? Someone reached into someone's, we had someone's skull ripped out of their body. There was death everywhere. All these terrible things happened. People's lives completely upended. Public executions. And if the gnome also betrayed them, then, as Brennan also brings up in the cooldown, and this is my opinion as well, if you create a world where everyone is awful, then why are you saving that world? Why are you heroes? Why are you not villains? And that's why this gnome was so important, to not skew evil at the last minute and betray them, because I feel like everyone's always waiting for that other shoe to drop. And it could have been like, it's very easy to do something like that and kind of like betray the party and like set up someone who is really emotional that you are emotionally connected to, and then basically, sabotage the party and feel betrayed. But you can only do that so many times, and you need to reserve those moments. So, for this gnome to be honestly kind and to invite them into the home was super important. So this is the example where I screwed up. I had to adventure. They went into this town. This town was covered in moss and leaves and everything, and it was a big city. And for some reason, a green dragon had decided to take up residence in the center of the city and would not let people leave. And there's reasons. What ends up happening is the city someone at the city will not let go that green dragon's clutch of eggs. So the green dragon takes over the city. There's like shambling mounds and blights wandering the streets, all this stuff. There's green gas and fissures in the streets, spewing out poison, and all the residents are trapped. And every time, unfortunately, that the adventuring party ran into an NPC, the NPC was really suspicious or just rude or evil. And so that adventuring party, while I was running this adventure, decided to leave. They're like, "Can we just leave?" And I said, "Yes, absolutely." So they left, they went to the docks, they stole a bunch of ships, and they started a pirate fleet, and it became a whole different adventure. And the mistake of mine was I didn't make NPCs that were worth saving. I didn't create a city that you would want to save. And that's a very easy mistake to make. So you have to do that very much with the world as well. You have to have these shining moments of goodness. I think Lord of the Rings also does this in a really great way. There are a lot of ugly characters and frankly unlikable characters in the Lord of the Rings book. I can go down the list. One thing you should know in Lord of the Rings, the novel, not the movie, is that Aragorn, son of Arathorn, has no problem telling everyone he runs into that he should be king, and that he was born to be king, and he is of a noble bloodline. He will tell anyone that he is not a bad guy, but there's no, in the movies, he's like reluctant to become king. Aragorn is not. reluctant to be king, and not as nearly likable as, say, his portrayal in the films. And that's a necessary thing that they had to do. Denethor, awful person. Wormtongue, awful person. Like, every time they run into someone, they're suspicious. Eomir, super suspicious. It just goes, the list goes on and on and on. Like, the elves, always suspicious. Like, there are very few friendly faces other than, like, Tom Bombadil, everyone in the Shire. And even the Shire has a lot of, frankly, really, has some nasty people, the Sackful Bagginses. So you need to have these moments of like, oh, this is what we're fighting for. This is why this world is lovely. This is why we like this place. And the fact that we have a gnome who misses his daughters and we're probably going to run into at some point later on was really lovely. And yeah, that's kind of the summation of this episode. There are a lot of interesting lessons to be learned. I think this is a great show to learn about dungeon mastering and beats. The acting was fantastic again. The role playing between everybody was great. Sam Riegel was great comic relief. I really like Davinos and his interactions with Octus as things calm down, and the fact that Davinos will absolutely not leave Octus's side because he knows Octus is effectively a lightning rod for the Tachonis family. And so he's definitely going to hang out until he can exact his revenge. But that also means he may grow to have affection for Octus as well. So some really interesting plot points and really interesting role-playing back and forth with everyone that will come to a head later, I think. Again, loving Sam Riegel, and I'm loving Wikander and Tyranny's interactions with each other. Continue to demonstrate how kind of highborn or how used to material goods and things like that they have become. So that was really fun. It was a fun episode. I really enjoyed it. I almost did this stream immediately after their stream last night, but I didn't think there would be anyone willing to watch another stream about Critical Role the moment Critical Role ended. but I may rethink it. And I've been thinking about doing a stream right before the actual episodes as well, as kind of like recaps and stuff like that. But yeah, what does everyone think? So I saw that someone thinks Wick. Oh yeah, the amazing shoes of Wick was pretty fun. Wikander, I still think is a divine soul sorcerer. I don't think Clockwork. I don't think Clockwork Sorcerer would. So Wick is a Clockwork. Why do we think Wick is a Clockwork Sorcerer? Jackson, I just saw that. What was the evidence? I'm sorry, I'm not seeing. It's hard to, I'm looking through. So we have some people in chat right now, for those that are not looking at chat, that they believe Wikander is a Clockwork Soul Sorcerer. Interesting. Oh, I don't remember him saying he cancelled out disadvantage for some reason. I don't remember that. Yeah, I just don't. I'll have to watch the episode again, but it doesn't make any kind of thematic sense, really, in any way, for Wikander to be a Clockwork Soul Sorcerer. Obviously, canceling out disadvantage is a Clockwork thing, but there are other ways to cancel out disadvantage, especially if he has, the luck feat or something like that. I think you can apply disadvantage to someone else's roll. Yeah, the luck feat can also work in a semi-similar way. Huh. What level does that happen? Okay, let's do a little investigation. I don't know why I don't remember that. That's such a weird choice. Yeah. If Sam has a lucky feat, he could do it to one character and remove disadvantage or nullify it, but like not the entire party. Or he could have given everybody advantage in some other way. What was specifically the skill check that Sam, the party, was doing? You know? If he used Lesser Restoration, he's a cleric. And he's been healing people. So he's not a Clockwork Soul Sorcerer. Or he's a subclass that is completely different. Oh, he just did it for himself? Okay. Yeah, so that makes more sense to me. Yeah. I love the gnome character. I thought that was brilliant. That was so fun. I am curious though. I'm going to look up Clockwork Soul Sorcerer just to confirm a few things. I think you do get that ability pretty early. Search is pretty rough here. Let's see. Thank you for your patience. I'm doing a little investigation to make sure I'm not wrong on this. Soul Sorcerer. We're going in. Yeah. Interesting. So Clockwork Soul Sorcerers do have lesser restoration at level 3. Yeah. So they do have it. They've got protection from energy. Have we witnessed and they've got aid. They've got protection from evil and good. I don't know that we've seen... Have we seen Wick heal in any way? Does anyone know? I'm not recalling him healing. Feels weird that he hasn't. Yeah, restore balance. So restore balance at level 3 for a Clockwork Soul Sorcerer. Your connection to the plane of absolute order allows you to equalize chaotic moments. This is a weird vibe for him. Though hilarious if he's actually a construct. Can you imagine if Wakander's a construct? That would be hilarious. But they imply that he is of divine blood, specifically from a celestial, so it's a little confusing. When a creature you see within 60 feet of you is about to roll a d20 with advantage or disadvantage, you can use your reaction to prevent the roll from being affected by advantage or disadvantage. You use this feature a number of times, equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of once, and you will regain all expended uses. You can only do that to one person. You can't do it to the entire party all at once. And they're level 3 right now. So... interesting. Yeah. Yeah, he could have multi-classed into a Celestial Warlock. Yeah, it's getting a little money, though, but if he had done that and they're level 3, I didn't get the sense that they've leveled up in any way. So, if they're level 3, he wouldn't have access to that ability to nullify the disadvantage. I'll investigate and go back and look through. But, if he is a Clockwork Soul Sorcerer, that's wild because it's just not on theme unless he is a construct in some way. His character does not give me the impression he has any sense of order in the sense of a Modron or a robot or a construct or the plane of neutrality. I don't know if I get that vibe off Wakander. So, yeah, I'll go back and take a look. That would be wild and an indication of something pretty suspicious going on, because they talk at length. Like, so much is talked about the fact that he is, born of a celestial creature, of celestial blood. So, yeah, he could have easily done that with the luck feat. Yeah, it's curious. It's something worth looking into and keeping track of. But I just don't know, folks. So that covers all of it. I'm really excited for the next episode, and I'm not sure if they mentioned the table. Did they mention the table that we're now going to focus on next week? I'm not sure. And I'm curious if we'll have more back and forth, because in the editing, so I get the idea that they could completely just do one table at a time, because we expected them to only do the soldiers table. I do like the idea, and they have the ability, because they're shooting these things in advance, of doing the soldiers table and maybe cutting to something that is relevant that has happened at the schemers table or the seekers table. So they can do that now, which frees them up to have relevant moments that are interconnected in some way. I think that's really fun. So I don't know that we'll always be following only one singular table in Critical Role. They could be bouncing around a bunch, theoretically. And just checking chat right now. I can't believe I got through all my notes. But I thought, great. Again, it's the kind of show that makes me want to start dungeon mastering again. And I feel like these characters are really evolving fairly rapidly from episode to episode, which it's like a pressure cooker, right? Like, I mean, Davinos is already showing a lot. I mean, Matt Mercer is killing it in terms of getting to be a player for the first time. I mean, not the first time, but at length in a long-term campaign. And Davinos is a really, really interesting character. There's a lot to unpack there. And that character is changing every single episode. Yeah, I do think they have the opportunity to have multiple episodes shot between multiple tables, and then finding relevant moments to splice between. And also in combat, absolutely. I will give you an example. I used to run a 3-year Star Wars game. We had what we called the Christmas episode, where we had like 12 or 16 people. It was nuts. So everyone came home, and everyone showed up to this one house, and I was running the game, and everyone wanted to play, and we just had this giant, massive, fight happening during basically Return of the Jedi, when the Death Star gets exploded. But they're on the other side of Endor when this is happening, and so many things were happening both on the planet, in space, and on a Star Destroyer, that I had 2 assistant dungeon masters also helping me with combat. So everything was happening in unison, and people were giving me information of like who succeeded on this mission, or this thing had happened, or like if something really relevant happened, like something exploded that would affect the other party. They would just point at me, let me know, and then we just kind of cut between these different events all live, and it was nuts. And it was so fun to have like assistant dungeon masters helping with that. In this case, this is all pre-taped, so they can like do a little bit of that in the edits, which could be really dynamic and fun. If you want to support the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, talk in chat. All that helps the channel. I want to keep on doing these live streams and a whole bunch more. I'm always gonna be covering D&D. But I'm really enjoying covering Critical Role's campaign. I'm also going to start covering the animated series on Critical Role as well. So I'm really excited for that, and more on that later. And I'm going to keep on covering Daggerheart and all of that as well. So we also have the Patreon page, and I am behind on my playtest materials. I really know that. I'm finishing them up. Having trouble with InDesign. InDesign is scary to me for some reason, but I've got all the information all set up. And so that stuff is going to start uploading very, very frequently because it's something I'm very passionate about. So, also, we have a lot of sponsors. We have Jaffe Maps, which I cannot which is amazing. They have a new demo that's out there right now for a Kickstarter where you can basically just grab rooms and make a castle or a bastion or wherever you want to build, and it just automatically connects all the rooms for you. It's wild. You can literally build a map in seconds. It's nuts. So and also we are sponsored by Start Playing, which are fantastic. If you want to jump into a game of D&D or Daggerheart, I can't recommend them enough. I know it can be hard to like find a local group. This is a great way to jump on a Zoom call or whatever and go to Start Playing and just start playing like a D&D game or Daggerheart as well. Did we cover the sigil or whatever was on Thazi? No, yeah, So they did make a very heavy point of, hey, in a couple of days, we've just run into 2 artifacts that deal with the afterlife. I didn't completely fully absorb everything about Thazi's coffin, or even the halfling coffin as well. Oh yeah. No, Jaffe Maps is just killing it. It's amazing. The demo is, and by easy I mean I cannot explain. I can. Maybe I should demo that live sometime. You just grab something. You're like, I want this room. You just grab it. You shove it up against another room you put down on the map, and it just creates an entrance. Like, it's that easy. And that really helps for someone like me who, like, I do have some Dwarven Forge, actually, you know, and minis and all that stuff, physical things, but it takes time to build a map. And I get a little stressed out about it sometimes. This thing's really easy to use and very customizable. So Jaffe Maps is pretty crazy. Yeah, it was the halfling coffin. Yeah, yeah. I didn't absorb everything going on there, other than they just kind of brought it up again. So we have 2 items, like, to recap, that are dealing with transporting undead. I did like the interplay with Vaelus as well, wanting to have the elf stone. And the fact that they had to try to create some form of friendship. And it was, I always love that that's a table with a lot of trust, because you see Bolaire actually try to use command multiple times on Vaelus. And, you know, that can go real wrong at a table where people aren't friends when you're using player-on-player, not violence, but spells to control their free will. Can get like it's a delicate thing that you have to like watch out for in a game, for sure. Beacon News says that Wick's class is a prodigy mage. What is Beacon News? Is it official? Because I don't know what a... First off, there's no mage class. Yeah. Yeah, there is no mage in D&D at this point. So that would be an entirely new class. Prodigy Mage. That's weird. That's a self-described term. Yeah, it was interesting what's going on with Robbie. Robbie clearly has some kind of unresolved issue with a child or a daughter. You know, him throwing the doll away. Throwing the doll away is interesting, so he's definitely dealing with some type of grief. Robbie's his character is really funny, I think. Oh wow, that's why I forgot. Luis Carazo just killing it with his interactions with Sir Davinos, with Matt Mercer. I love the back and forth between them and how dismissive Davinos is about not even knowing who Azune is. It was so rude, but like, it was really fun seeing the role playing between Luis and Matt. at that moment. I thought that was brilliant. And Luis Carazo just killing it acting wise and role playing wise. I was lucky enough to work with Luis on the Lego D&D game that I produced, and what an absolute joy of a human being. And always making time for other people at the table too. Luis has no main character syndrome in him. Fantastic. Just a really fantastic performance. I know. Everyone was so afraid the gnome's daughters were like undead, and he was keeping them in the backyard or the basement alive or something really gruesome. You really do need those happy moments here and there to make things a little bit less sad and to show why you're actually what you were fighting for in a game like this. So. Yeah, Luis is a joy. Well, what a wonderful human being. Yeah, Wakander's it's still funny to me that Wakander is aware that his entire religion is fake and based off this creed, and he still believes it, or he's still proselytizing it. I don't get the sense that Wakander has had this moment of, I don't think he's separating belief from the fact that he's just learned that his entire religion is a lie, which makes me wonder, will he turn his religion into a real religion despite him knowing it's fake through sheer belief and ritual? I don't know. I'm fascinated where Sam Riegel's character of Wakander is going. Yeah, I was expecting a Walking Dead moment as well. I don't think I could have survived it, honestly. We've had a lot of darkness in the Overture, so going into episode 5 with that level of darkness is pretty nuts. Again, one of my favorite things is learning how the schemers are going to start flexing their muscles in terms of causing political turmoil within the city will be a really, really fun thing. Looking through chat right now. Oh yeah, the fairy in the water, the Nixie, was really fun to see, and having that interaction was, I think, really great to have Thimble have. Thimble got a lot of great, like, I know everybody kind of moments. Thimble knew the person in the gibbet. I like the idea of Thimble going inside of an actual lock and unlocking it from within. I thought that was brilliant as well. And then Thimble talking, not also seeing a Nixie from distance, going into the water, having a conversation, keeping it secret from the rest of the larger humans, was all fantastic as well. And those interactions were pretty hilarious. And that is further cementing how much the Fae do not trust the tall folk in the world. Was also great. Oh, I don't know if I can handle the Fae camp being murdered. I don't want that. Yeah. But I think Brennan outlines in the cooldown pretty well the weird interactions you're going to start seeing. You're going to see, like he said, he mentioned arrows flying by your head meant for someone else. So they may see threats. One table may see a threat that is actively coming after a different table and might have the ability to interact with that threat and prevent it or cause it. So these tables are going to probably help each other at points and accidentally hurt each other at different points in the game. You're going to see ramifications. So, which I'm all for. It's going to be really great. And I think we did need a lightening of the mood type moment for the entire series. So this is on the website. I need to go to the website, but so on the website they have vagueness as to what they are called. Like this is just kind of who they are, tracker. Vague descriptions, huh? Interesting. I will check that out. This is on Beacon News. The website. Okay, I'll check that out. So, is there anything I didn't cover that I should have covered? By the way, thank you for everyone for coming back. I wasn't here last week to, react to the Halloween episode that went down, the dispatch one. I was on my 10th anniversary, and it was super important I take some time off because I don't get to do so, and 10 years is a huge deal, and I'm married to the love of my life, so... Exhaustion, I don't mess around with exhaustion a lot, so I don't know if it is inconsistent. Sorry, I hiccuped. So I don't know if how they're handling exhaustion is inconsistent. I don't love exhaustion myself. I bring it up in very specific kind of environments. So they are in the forest, so that is something like I would delve into more, but like I don't go heavily into it. I haven't used that mechanic as much as I probably should have as a dungeon master. So all of the magic using characters except for Hal have different class names. Okay. I'll check it out on Beacon News. I wasn't aware of that. The prisoner the prisoner in the gibbet was hilarious. I love that. What a hilarious, fun, bizarre, quirky interaction. And such a willingness to be a prisoner. So obliging to get a little piece of bread. Everyone was a little bit of a criminal in this. It was really fun. But that character was hilarious. I enjoyed that tremendously. I wish I had written a couple of moments. There were moments where I was like laughing out loud. The character is going after Vaelus when she went to take the stone. I think they just don't know Vaelus, so I get it. I think they really don't know who Vaelus is. They now feel that the Elfstone is tied to Octus. So there's a real fear there of that they have a sense of who Octus is. They have no sense of who Vaelus is. And so I get that defensiveness, and I think it was an important moment to have. And what's weird is I'm always looking at this show and thinking about when this gets animated as well. And so these are I think these are good moments to have. Because I assume, years from now, we may have this as an animated series on Amazon. So I think that'll be a fun moment to see. You have to remember this is not a functional party yet. And the Overture was incredibly dysfunctional. For a lot of the characters. I mean, a lot of them are joined together by, Fang. But, Vaelus is the really extreme exception. It always feels tense when characters are at odds. So I get that. But I actually appreciated that moment. For them just let Vaelus have the stone, I'm like, I don't know that the party would have allowed that. Like logically, a group of people just like that. And Vaelus isn't going to stop wanting the stone either. Vaelus has no reason not to want the stone. Do I think Brennan Mulligan should consider a showrunner? Oh, be considered a showrunner? I mean, yeah. I mean, you are. That's what you are as a dungeon master. You are effectively a showrunner. So, But understand this is more collaborative, right? Like, the players have come at things. So we got information from Sam Riegel this week about the fact that he has volumes and volumes and volumes of things written about the Candescent Creed. The Candescent Creed is created by Sam Riegel. He made this very intricate thing with psalms and rules and all this kind of structure for religion. And it sounded like Liam described it as like a Game of Thrones level of information having to do with the Candescent Creed, this religion that Sam Riegel has created, right? So, every one of these people is both performer and writer and has contributed to the actual world itself. So you can think of it as this giant writer's room that Brennan Mulligan is a part of and the showrunner of, I think. But this is very player forward, and that's how Brennan's approach has been, is they've come to Brennan with what their characters are, and Brennan has sculpted a world around that, and will continue to do so. So the areas blur. I love Luis interacting with Matt Mercer. I could see those two characters becoming friends over time. What a nasty line. He didn't even know who he was. That was pretty great. Yeah, I don't love PvP stuff necessarily. And so I'm going to actually bring up something kind of interesting. So I had a game where it really depends on the table when it comes to PvP. This is a fun discussion. So I had a pilot of a show where everyone's kind of a scoundrel, right? Like, bounty hunters, thieves, assassins, the whole deal. I made it so it was almost Guardians of the Galaxy in the sense that our very beginning game, episode 1, everyone was hunting each other. So there was a bounty hunter trying to find an assassin. An assassin was trying to kill a thief. A thief was trying to steal from this other character's boss, who was a crime lord. So every player, kind of like the beginning of Thunderbolts, was sent to either kill or capture the other one. And that is the first episode we did, and we had an absolute great time. There was PvP, there was combat, there were people arguing, and they became, at the end of that episode, a very functional team. Had a great time, and it worked out great. I tried the same thing in a one-shot, and it was a nightmare. One player didn't want to do it. Like, actually, I had a player live, during a live game, say, can we all just get along? I actually would like it if all our characters just got along, instead of us being at odds. Which was wild during a live game, right? But because that wasn't his thing. And that probably maybe needed to be a check-in of some type, but PvP is not foreign to D&D to a certain degree here and there, but you eventually need to let that story progress over. You can't just be doing this. You can't constantly being at odds, because that gets annoying and becomes a little bit like you're picking on someone. So if you are constantly working against another character at the table like 2 or 3 times, that's not that fun. When you're like casting spells on them or affecting their rolls, first time's funny, second time funny, third time getting a little old, fourth time is like, you guys need to resolve the conflict in a narrative way. Otherwise, that just also gets boring to watch. So the sorcerers are called prodigy mages, and the paladins are called exemplar. Fascinating. Yeah, the prisoner gave off very big swashbuckler vibes. The fact he just hopped on a horse so quickly, that was really fun. I hope we see that character again. That character, there's a kind of a... I've seen this in narratives before, and I've done it myself. You just keep on running into the same NPC who is like in a gibbet. So if we see in this character again in another gibbet, I would not be surprised, or another prison cell. Like, they just keep on running into him and letting him out throughout the next 3 years of this campaign. So I think that would be fun. And by the way, thank you everyone for showing up. I know, like I said, I wasn't here last week, but I'm going to keep on doing these streams every single week. It's great that we have 109 people here. That's wild. Let me know any other types of content you'd like to see with me covering D&D and Critical Role and the animated series and all of it. Yeah, if that character, the guy in the gibbet, shows up in another gibbet with another table, that ongoing joke is something only us as the audience is going to be aware of, and it's going to be hilarious. And this is what I love about dramatic irony. This is why it's going to be so funny that we keep on running into NPCs that like hop from place to place to place to place, and we will feel, and this is kind of like the fun of film and anyways, is, you know, the audience typically with most movies is going to be more, unless it's a mystery or a thriller or a horror film, is more aware of what is going on than the protagonists. And this is an opportunity to actually do that on a live play show for the first time. Did CR ask content creators to wait until Monday for reaction content? I don't think so. I think people react almost immediately. Yeah, I could check in, but I'm not aware of any kind of restriction to people reacting to it. The episode ahead of time. Yeah, I think that we're going to see a lot of fun, hilarious chicanery going on between having 3 tables that can potentially run into the same NPC and have different interactions. And then also lies. Imagine you run into an NPC that is actively lying about what happened at the last table. So many fun things can happen now, narratively. So you could say, the soldier's table told somebody to tell the schemer's table this thing, and that NPC gets to the schemer's table and tells them the opposite and betrays them. Like, we're going to be in on the lies, the jokes, all this stuff that the other tables are not aware of. So it feels almost like it almost feels like a sporting event in some bizarre way. Like, they're like the players on a soccer field, and we're up high in the stands watching it all happen. Yeah, I'm unsure. I think the separation between the tables is going to become more extreme as time goes on. And that separation of knowledge will become more extreme as time goes on as well. Well, I mean, certainly having separate tables is helpful for the scheduling, and that's a big deal, but it's also a great opportunity to tell a narrative in a way that has not typically been done before in live play shows. So there's artistic reasons for this as well. So to that point, yeah, I don't think the character's consistent bossing people around is bad. This, however, is the beginnings of creating of trust. And narratively, so everyone at this table has a lot of guidelines, I'm sure, and trust, and have been playing for years. So they know the give and take of stuff. And throughout Critic Role's multiple campaigns, characters have been at quite a bit of odds on what to do and not what to do, and that is fun. That is interesting. Consistent bullying or attacking each other isn't fun. You need to have moments of getting along or not getting along, but it can't keep on being you have issue with this one character in the party for like 5 or 6 episodes. That's a mess. Well, I think we're probably at time. I think the stream has gone on for an hour and 4 minutes. But I thought another fantastic episode, super fun. I will edit this in YouTube, so it doesn't have the very beginning of it. But thank you all for watching. Don't forget to, like I said, like and subscribe. All that stuff helps. Patreon as well. There's also memberships on YouTube. I can tell you that will have a lot more content around Critical Role, and that's all I can say. We've got interview content, we've got reaction content, we've got reviews, and a couple other things in the works. It's all me. When I say we, it's like a royal we kind of thing. It's basically me getting exhausted and not getting enough sleep kind of situation. But that's okay. I'm okay with it. That's how it is. But I appreciate all of you. And by the way, it did come up. I do have an interview that's going to be coming out with Whitney more. I am so utterly shocked by how kind the critter community has been to me. I'm always shocked because I'm often in my own head. But when I go to a convention, I run into critters. They are so overwhelmingly kind. It does create it creates an emotional reaction. It's a little shocking to be presented with people who are so nice and so giving with their time and so welcoming. And Whitney Moore and I talked a bit about that as well in an upcoming interview that we did, because a nice introduction interview about Whitney Moore and who Whitney Moore is playing Tyranny. That is an interview that will be coming out very soon. So also got interviews with folks like G&D, the Dungeon Dudes. We've got interviews with other cast members. We got some interesting stuff coming up. So be on the lookout. So, all right. Well, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out and all your time and for watching this video. And I will talk to you soon. I know the sun is out in Seattle. It's a miracle. All right, everybody. Have a great day.